Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. What a pleasure it is to be here today. And you must be wondering, what is this balloon doing here? And what is this brain hanging onto that balloon? And what is this cell phone lying there next to it? By the end of this session, you'll find out how this all comes together and how we change the world together. Today we're going on a journey into the deep future. Just imagine yourself in the year 2050. Visualize yourself there. How old you will be. What will you be doing? What have you achieved? Today's journey is about that undulating events that take place and get you there by the year 2050, and how we cope with it, how we protect ourselves from it, and how, more importantly, we enjoy the abundance. Because today, ladies and gentlemen, we are living in times of magic, in times of abundance, and miracles are just around the corner. Our topic is illusions versus reality. What we are going to see today is a set of illusions. I arrived here in Dubai in 1988, and I lived in that apartment there in the middle, apartment 702. I was a poor student. My first job was in Dubai. I was being paid $500 a month. And I struggled through my exams a little bit, even though I was quite smart and hardworking. But my exams were in a space which is accountancy, which is not my strength. However, I finished and I came here, and I came to the desert. I came to the oasis in the middle of nowhere, making this my new reality, and then building from there. Did I know what's going to happen to that same strip of land 25 years later? This, ladies and gentlemen, is our reality today. Our illusion for the next 25 years is that. This is Dubai in your lifetime, in my lifetime. We will see that. And what we can see is literally a time warp of 50 years just happening right in front of our eyes. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. This is what we are about today. Reality, illusion, reality, and then illusion going on from there. This is what we are going to explore today, and come on this amazing journey together with me, and we will have a lot of fun.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is my view of the world 2050. To get into that world in 2050, what do you think is left as our final frontier? There's a dead giveaway there. Enterprise. Do you think it's space? My thesis is it's not. My thesis is it's the brain. How we apply our brain, how we apply this brain, I have a picture here, to all of these changes that are taking place in the world and how we make it happen for ourselves. Over the last 10,000 years, we were in the agrarian age. We moved onto the industrial age in 1750. Then we moved to the information and technology age by about 1950s. And then into what we refer to as the knowledge age in around 1990s. In 2007, the needle moved completely. And we moved into a new space, into a new age, and that's called the age of intelligence. The age of intelligence is our future. And the thing that runs our intelligence is our brain. And therefore, this is the most important thing in our lives. My guru, my mentor in this space is Professor Tony Buzan, who's the inventor of mind mapping. And he's an expert on innovation and the brain. And I had learned from the master. Here's your brain. Right brain, left brain. Everybody is familiar with that. Please just explore in your minds what portion of this brain that you are using in your day-to-day lives these days. What portion? High, medium, low? Any thoughts? Low? There are a few lows. Intuitively, people say low. Why? Why shouldn't we be using 100% of our brain all the time? And the research with Professor Buzan suggests that it's only 1% of the brain that we are using on a day-to-day basis to achieve all of the wonderful things we've already achieved. Can you imagine what it would be like if we started using the other 99% effectively, and more importantly, combining both sides and getting all of the multiple intelligences, spatial intelligence, spiritual intelligence, ethical intelligence, all of the other intelligence beyond just mechanical and mathematical and analytical. We cannot analyze our way into the future, and we will see that in a second. There was another study, a research done by NASA about 30 years ago, which measured creativity and age. What happens to creativity as we grow older, living in the environment that we are living? Here's a little toddler, 2-3 years old. How high do you think her creativity would be? High, medium, low? High? Very high? Very high. It's at 95%. Guess what? We send them to school. By the time they're 8, it goes down to 75%. By the time they're about 14, 15, it goes down to 50%. And then guess what? We send them to college. We send them to Wollongong University. And they go down to 25%. And all of this because we're being sent to school, slowing ourselves down, boxing ourselves in. No, you're not allowed to make mistakes. Creativity is not handled in that way, and so on. A lot of people who had reached that stage at the 25%, can you think of famous people who reached 25%, almost reached 25% and left? Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, name it, Bill Gates, all college dropouts, brilliant as hell. Because we are at 10%, ladies and gentlemen, the ones who have actually qualified from here. This is an absolute joke. It's actually not a joke, it's a tragedy. Because that is where we were. We were born geniuses and we came straight down. The good news is we can go straight back up again. At least with the 25%. Can you imagine how the world would change and how things will completely transform themselves if you're able to use the creative aspects of our brain? The new words that we'll be using in the future are resourcefulness, creativity, imagination, problem solving, finding solutions. Because around us we've got so much opportunity and capacity. All we need to do is lift ourselves and to do that. A lot of people say that we are living in scarcity and we're living with problems. Do people believe you're living in scarcity and problems? You watch the news too much. That's the problem. In a news environment, there's a famous saying, if it bleeds, it leads. Because at the back of the brain, we have a little thing called the amygdala, which is our fight or flight mechanism. This is our survival instinct. So we respond to that much, much faster because there's so much information coming in, we need to be able to respond. Therefore, news is sold way better because we hear bad news. That's part of the problem. Yes, we have terrorism. Yes, we have political issues. There is environmental issues and so on. But if you look at the last 100, 200 years, the mortality rate has gone straight down. The education level has gone straight up. The per capita income is huge. Communication has transformed itself. Transportation with planes and fast planes and all of these facilities available to us all the time. We are not living in scarcity. We are living in pure abundance. And then when we move forward into our next chart, we'll show how this abundance can be accelerated at an exponential speed. And this is going back to Moore's law. Moore's law basically states that the computing power and the processing power doubles every 18 to 24 months. And it started measuring, it was being measured very carefully since the year 1958. And every 18 months to 2 years, if you keep doubling it, we are at about the 40th doubling now. Can you imagine? Think about it. 1 becomes 2, becomes 4, becomes 8. And if you know math even a little bit, you know that something crazy is about to happen. Because when you get so big and then you go so fast, something shifts. The needle completely moves. So we cannot have the same rules of the game that we had then to have into the future. Everything that you have learned at university now is almost irrelevant unless you have learned how to learn. Not books, but thinking, learning, metacognition, thinking about thinking. That is what the Moore's law will enable us to do. But by around 2006, 2007, Moore's law moved to the point where things were getting into a very, very active phase. We have 3.5 billion users, new internet users. Can you imagine? Faster computing, and then it goes into 3.5 billion users. This takes us in faster computing, gives us a huge number of new things, which gets us into unexpected convergent consequences. These are a $1,000 human brain. It's not that we're doing brain transplants. It's actually what we're doing is a supercomputer in 10 years' time will be about $1,000, which all of us could afford. And various other elements in there. Bottom line is we're living in the best time ever. In this time, what happens to business? No business is too small, too big to fail. And no business is too small to succeed because of what we do in the Moore's law. Here's a tree in a forest. Just imagine a forest. A huge big tree falls. It's not replaced by another big tree. So when Kodak falls, or Border falls, or Radio Shack falls, or Nokia falls, it's not replaced by another Nokia. It's replaced by the little guys on the side. So it's the fittest and the most adaptable that will see the future. These are huge examples. Skype is another example. Netflix is another example. Something that is completely changing business models. So, another professor I learned from, Professor Kaufman, coined this phrase. We need to change the way we think about change. We need to be in a different place to think about change, to be able to manage the change at the pace at which it's coming. You have two choices. You can do that, or you can find some solutions. The solutions on future-proofing, the first one is education, as you can imagine. The second is millennials. A lot of you here. You are the initiators of change. You're the ones who will create huge impact. In 15 years' time, you will be 75% of the working population in the world. So enjoy. That is where we need to be. Corporate ecosystems need to be rethought completely and from a completely different place. Future-proofing, in the micro-business side, everybody is empowered and much, much faster. Crowds, competition, imagine the 3 billion people now getting involved in this process. All of these things give us a huge opportunity to protect ourselves in the future. And this is where we are. A lot of these are led by women. Women will come into the most empowered environment ever because they are the homemakers. They are the creators of the future in a lot of this thing. They will be our protectors. Do you know about Moonshots? It was coined in 1969 when Neil Armstrong reached the moon, first time. And this was something completely crazy. But before that, there was a great leader, and I'll play a video.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
This is one of the greatest speeches of all time, at least of the last 21st century. And what it spoke about was a future. We will get there. We don't know how we are going to get there, but we will get there. That is a moonshot. You take a huge problem, you take a huge item in your life, you throw a radical solution at it, and use science and technology to make it happen. Don't think 10% growth. Companies say, oh, we will grow 10% next year. Over, game over for them. You have to start thinking 10x because the rate at which the Moore's law is moving, it has to come in from there. So you need to think in a slightly different way, because when you think 10x, you think in a completely different way than to do it incrementally. And that is the fundamental shift, ladies and gentlemen. It is about thinking 10 times, 100 times. That is what it is. Here's an example of a moonshot. What do you think this is? Anybody seen it? Here's a moonshot. I love this moonshot. It is 1 million kids in Thailand meditating for peace. That's close to my heart. That's what moonshots are. So about in the year 1999, I was preparing myself for the 21st century, and I was in a leadership program, and I was asked to write my epitaph, my tombstone. And it was a very humbling moment for me, because I was super successful in business, making money, power, everything. But that's not who I was. I come from a poor country. I've seen a lot of poverty. I've seen a lot of suffering. And when I was helping people, mothers had to sometimes make a decision between feeding a child and educating a child versus saving another child from curable cancer. My money alone was not enough. And I am pledged in my lifetime, I will do something to fundamentally make a difference. And that is what we are doing today, ladies and gentlemen. The first project is called the Weightless Project. It is with Dr. Deepak Chopra, where 1 billion people in the world are obese and struggling because of that. And 1 billion people in the world are starving and struggling because of that. And we find a way to bring it together. We build a bridge using technology. Hence this, an app which will hit a major blow into poverty, nutrition, malnutrition, and wellness, and on the other side, health and wellness. Moonshot number 1. Moonshot number 2, education, close to my heart. The project we call a butterfly universe, hence the butterfly. We take children from caterpillars and take them into these beautiful, colorful butterflies. This is our metaphor for you to take home with you, is we are all butterflies and each one of us has a butterfly inside us. We started in a poor country around the time when 130 children were killed in northern Pakistan. We were doing these classes. Young girls being empowered. They have these little tattoos on their hands. That is what they're about. We want 1 billion children with these little tattoos, butterfly tattoos, in solidarity for the changes that we are making. Everybody recognizes her, Nobel Peace Prize winner for this year. She talks about guns can kill terrorists, education can kill terrorism. Guys, I am an active pacifist. I don't want to kill anything. I want to grow. I want to prosper. But what she's saying, the insight is very powerful. Education can give us so much abundance and so much opportunity. Then who cares about terrorism? We won't have time for terrorism. We'll be having too much fun, growing, developing. That's where we are today. And that is what we need to project in our lives. What do we need to do to grow that? So my last question is, what is your moonshot? What are you going to do in the year 2050? You visualized it at the beginning. In the year 2050, most of you here will actually be working, actually be in active life. What is your moonshot? I pledge you, as you go out today, think of at least one moonshot in your life. And I pledge and request the university to create a wall here. It has everybody's moonshots, whatever they are. Whether the moonshot is a building or the Burj Khalifa, I'll make the tallest building in the world, or I will feed 1 billion kids, or I will educate a billion children. It doesn't matter what your moonshot is. Whatever that moonshot is, sooner or later, ladies and gentlemen, one of you, some of you, hopefully a lot of you, will make that.